You are listening to the Hiking Radio Network, where we talk the walk with shows by hikers, about hikers, for everybody.
This is the Hammock Hangers podcast, where we hang out and talk about everything from hammocks and hammock camping to the group hangs from around the country.
Hey y'all, hammock enthusiasts and chill seekers, welcome to the Hammock Hangers podcast, the coziest spot on the airwaves. We are your go-to source for all things hammock related, from laid-back tales to tips and tricks on finding that perfect hang. So go grab yourself a drink, kick back in your favorite hammock, and let's swing into some awesome conversations. This is where relaxation meets conversation, and it's going to be one comfy ride. So let's get into it. Well, everyone, today is a very special edition of the Hammock Hangers podcast. We are bringing you episode 1 of hopefully a series of episodes that we are recording live right here at Fall Sprawl with the Palmetto State Hangers. And this week we have an amazing guest and a good friend of ours. He is the local legend and all-around national hammock vendor. We're going to say rep winch for numerous
I'm not
hammock vendors. We have Barry, or as most of you know him as Cajun. So welcome along, Barry.
Hi, everybody.
So we also have our friendly neighborhood podcaster, Paul. He is back with us.
I am back, guys. I'm back. My work decided to take me off a night shift, so I am back now again.
We are thrilled to be out hanging with everyone here at the Palmetto State Hangs Fall Sprawl, which is always an amazing event. Also, a shout out to our Michiligan brethren out hanging out there this weekend as well. Hope their hang is going well. Shout out to Carla with a K for throwing that on. So Barry, welcome to the hang. I know that you guys, and I'd say with all the vendors that you rep, you guys, you go to a lot of hangs.
Yeah. I average about 35 hangs a year.
Oh, wow.
That must be a hard life.
Hard, but fun.
What's okay, you just said that hard, but fun. And I probably agree with that. What is the hardest part about it?
The constant, I'm never home.
Okay.
And I've been doing this since 2016. And to this day, I still can't get myself organized to know what the heck is in my car when I get to a hang. Because normally it's a go from the day job, get to the house, unload all of the stuff from my blood draws, and then throw a whole bunch of camping gear in. And I'm trying to rush to get on the road.
Okay.
And I get on the road and I'm like, wait, did I even pack a hammock? Did I bring anything for me to sleep in? Do I have this stand? Do I have my wallet? Just going down the list of stuff, and most of the time it gets to the point of, if I ain't got it, I don't need it, and just keep on going.
I hear you.
There you go.
That would be the driver of my ADHD, just that constant chaos. But I think I would also thrive in that environment too.
It's chaos, but it's fun.
Yeah. And I can imagine, like, this time of year, you're probably like hanged. Like boom, boom, boom,
Between the hammock hangs and the motorcycle rallies, I have been booked since July 10th or so. Every single weekend, I've been at an event.
Wow.
And I'm booked until the weekend before Thanksgiving.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So do you hit week after Thanksgiving?
Mm-hmm.
Is there a lull between that and you'll be at HangCon this year?
Right. There are a couple of hangs that happen in December. There's one that's an open hang here with PSH, the holiday hang. Then there's a couple of low-key private hangs that I go to in December where I don't have to actually work. I get to go and just have fun. Now, when I'm working, it's fun, yes, but there's a difference.
Sure.
I could sleep till noon at those hangs. These, I kind of have to be up when everybody else wakes up and make an appearance. Because if not, people are peeking underneath my tarp to see what I'm sleeping in. And that just kind of gets weird.
So let's talk about like the origin of your just camping life. So did you grow up camping?
No. I was in Boy Scouts briefly. We camped out once. And it was miserable. It was horrible. And Dad swore we would never do it again, and we didn't. But growing up, we went camping in a motorhome. And then I didn't do any camping until I was in my 40s. And talking to a friend of mine that I went to high school with, and we were talking about, hey, we used to always talk about go camping. Let's go do this. We were talking about going by a pop-up. We were going to split the cost of a pop-up to go camping in. And while we were online, on the phone, I was online and on woot.com back when it was just one item a day. They had the Yukon bug net hammocks, these little 7-footers for $5 a piece. So
I couldn't even imagine a 7-foot hammock.
I ordered us a bunch of them, and myself, Faceplant, Angela Guidry now, my godchild, and who else was with us? Chiquita was with us. Don't remember Chiquita's last name, but we went camp on the North Shore in Louisiana at Fontainebleau State Park. It was hilarious. I'm embarrassed to show pictures of the setup. We could have each been in our hammocks and reached out and touched each other. We were that close, but we were hung, we were dry. We thought it was the best night's sleep any of us had ever had. And then a few months later, I got into an 11-foot hammock, and then I discovered what I'd been missing. Like, how was I sleeping in that little bitty thing?
So you pretty much started straight off in hammocks.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I can't do tents. I can sleep in a tent. Sleeping on the ground is not a problem. I can sleep on a pad, no problem. My problem is getting in and out of it. My knees and my back are like, no.
Right.
Just no.
Yeah, that's pretty much how I am. I mean, I could probably get in easier than I can get out, because I have gravity helping me get down to that point, but just getting out now.
Yeah. After sleeping all night on that pad on the ground, and then you got to crawl out of your tent and then try and stand back up. No. And the whole time your bladder is screaming, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up.
Right.
I think for me, like the biggest opposition that I have with like tents is I used tents so much in Scouts growing up that I've had so many outnumbered occasions where the tent turned into a swimming pool. And that was the deal breaker. Like being wet on a camping trip is the absolute deal breaker. And with hammocks, I have ridden out some crazy storms, and I have always been drier in a hammock than I ever was, the driest that I was in a tent.
I think with me also, I mean, I remember camping one time. It was whenever I was married to my first wife. Her, myself, and her family went to, I think it was up in Panama City, Destin area, Panhandle of Florida, and the campground that we was at, I didn't notice it, but I guess I set the tent up on an ant bed, and so it was terrible all night. I mean, middle of the night we started getting eaten up, and so no, I'll be off the ground. I'll stay off the ground.
Was it red ants?
Yeah, it was the fire ants.
Fire ants. Yeah, for those of y'all not from the South, that is God's little torture.
Yeah.
Yes.
100%.
Yes.
God, evil little critters.
So how did you go in from, you got into hammock camping, you had that bug bite, and so what turned you into the vendor wench?
So my first 11-foot hammock was a Paris from Sierra Madre. I bought a complete used setup, the Paris, the Nube, quilts, the whole 9 yards. Had no instructions. And SMR puts these little QR codes on all of their gear. You scan it and it brings you to a video. Well, the guy had ripped all of them off. So I had no idea how any of it was supposed to be set up. So I emailed customer service and wound up just getting into long conversations with one person in customer service who later found out was the owner's sister-in-law. And so Ariel and I wound up being friends on Facebook, and my job at the time, I was on call 24/7. So for me to get a weekend off, I had to go real far away from New Orleans because they would call me into work. So I had to make it to where I didn't say no. I would say yes to every emergency call. But when they would start tallying up how much it would be for the mileage, the emergency call out drive time plus the job, then they would say, never mind, we'll find somebody else. So I started camping in South Carolina, in northern Georgia, North Carolina, just elsewhere. And Ariel started seeing that on Facebook. And at one point, my first camp out with PSH, it was a Fall Sprawl. She saw I was coming here, and she asked if she could send me some gear. And I'm like, sure, but I'm leaving in the morning. I said, no, Mississippi's close, but it's 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm leaving at midnight. I don't think the mail's going to work that fast. So a person I don't know from a company that I barely know shipped a box of gear to a campground I've never been to be picked up by people that I don't know. And I was going in the woods with a bunch of people that I don't know. And on the way, I picked up a girl that I kind of work with, and it was all phone conversations with her for the years that I worked with her. And I told her I was coming. She's like, you go through Atlanta, right? She goes, yeah, I'm coming with you. So she flew down from New Jersey, who've never physically met each other. And she hopped in the Jeep with me at the airport in Atlanta to come hang out with a bunch of strangers. And she had never been in a hammock before.
Hang out with a bunch of strangers in the woods.
Yeah. And that was the start of repping.
So I think what you just described, outside of the hammock community, they would be like, you all are crazy. But what you have just said is truly the essence of the hammock community.
Yeah.
I have no idea who these people are, but I'm going to randomly meet up with strangers from the internet.
Yeah.
From an area that
internet,
probably does not have cell phone signal for numerous days of being like any other situation that you could think of. People would be like, no, that sounds like a poor life choice.
Sounds like the start of a horror movie.
Yeah. But that is truly the essence of the hammock community.
And
Right.
that's how that was Dawn's first hang. And she absolutely loved it. She's come to HangCon a couple times. She now lives in the South. So she couldn't stand the winters anymore, so she moved to Florida. She's like, it's not cold here.
So you started off repping with Sierra Madre.
Correct.
And then your list of harem grew.
Okay, so the way it started with Sierra Madre, I won't go into that story, but I started with Sierra Madre full time and basically lived in either my Honda Accord, the Nissan Versa that we had for a while, or the Sierra Madre van for 18 months going to hangs, just traveling around the country, just going to events.
Which is, I think, the first time I met you was you came to HangCon. And back when we were doing Doe Lake, and I know you did not look like Richard. So you were some other guy.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a couple inches shorter than him, and my beard's a lot. Well, I don't know. His beard's kind of short now. But yeah, he had a beard down to his belly button at one time. But yeah. So after 18 months of doing that, Richard and I had a sit down, and it was a purely business decision. Having a full-time person that is never in the office is hard to do for a cottage vendor. So we dissolved that relationship, and he helped me come up with the idea of repping multiple companies, and they pay less money per company, and I still wind up making an income, but more companies can be repped. At first, I had a slight bit of resistance from a couple of potentials about why would I want you repping me when you're repping other companies? And my response was very simple. Everybody's going to these hangs to look at a bunch of different gear. If your gear is not up to snuff to hang right next to somebody else's, you need to up your game. And I picked up both of them that complained about it. They were instant. Yes, that works. And been repping them ever since, so. And I rep officially now 8. There's 1 or 2 that come and go, but the 8 solid ones that are there for all of the hangs. And sorry, I got to plug them. That'd be Tensa Outdoor, Walhalla Hammocks, Superior Gear, Trailheads, Autumn Outdoor, Yobo Hammock Stands, Dutchware, and Sierra Madre.
Which I can honestly say every single one of those companies have also made contributions and support for HangCon as well. So. Again, shout out to those companies. They are a huge help to make HangCon happen. So thank you to those companies as well.
Yes, thank y'all. Yeah.
And it helps put a roof over Barry's head.
Yeah, it does. Well, at least one made out of either xenon or sil poly or Cuban fiber.
There you go.
A thin roof, but it's still a roof.
So, I mean, with going to so many hangs, is there do all the hangs kind of have the same feel?
Absolutely not.
Okay. So speak to us,
Absolutely.
how some of the hangs are different from around the country.
So PSH actually spoiled me. They were the first major group that I came hang with besides the Louisiana group. And I don't even consider that one a group hang because we're all such good friends. It's just more like just a group of friends going camping for the weekend. But at PSH, there's a central fire. And everybody stays at the central fire. And whether you want to or not, you're going to wind up meeting people.
Right.
You all have the same thing in common. You're a bunch of weirdos hanging from trees. So you're going to talk about it. And then you find out the other things that you have in common and you start up conversations. Some of the other hangs, you've got 3 or 4 fires. There's one particular event that the only time that they get together is for the Saturday night potluck and the raffle. That's it. Other than that, everybody stays in their own campsite. They rent the entire state park, but everybody stays in their own campsite and they don't really mingle. So everywhere you go, it's a little bit of a different feel. I'm at the point now to where I've been to so many of them and know so many people, no matter where I go, I'm still hanging with friends.
Right.
But there are occasions where I will still show up at an event and I'm like, I don't know a soul here.
Really.
And that's more on the motorcycle side of it, because branching out from hangs, we have found that the motorcycle camping crowd really likes hammocks. And the ones on the East Coast, yes, we're fortunate enough to have a lot of trees that we can use, but the ones on the West Coast, not so much. So now
That's
the
where
hammock stands are
that's
in,
where the
and
stands come in.
with me showing up on motorcycle with 2 hammock stands and 3 complete hammock setups, plus all of my gear and my food, they're like, wait, hang on, I really need to see this. You know? Like, you have
What
all
voodoo
of that,
magic is
It's like,
this?
you have all that on that bike? It's like, yes, that's all on that motorcycle. So
You actually just done a motorcycle trip too, didn't you?
yeah. So I did an exclusive 3 months with Hammock Gear and with Yobo Outdoor
Okay.
to do the Overland events in Oregon
Yep.
and in Colorado, and then hit the Sturgis Adventure Rally, the big Sturgis Rally, and 2 other motorcycle events while we were out there.
Okay.
And I caught 2 on the way back east. And so it was almost 3 months gone from the house. I towed the bike to Montana and stayed on the bike pretty much the rest of the time. I put almost
Okay.
16,000 miles on my motorcycle this
Wow.
summer and had a blast. It's beautiful out there. There's some great scenery. I've got video and pictures of a storm at Devil's Tower, and there's no unnatural light for miles. So it's pitch black. And every time the lightning would go off, it would just light up behind Devil's Tower.
Tower is the one that they used in
Close Encounters.
right?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. So there's a campground right next to it.
Really? Okay.
Inside of the national park.
Okay.
It's a first come, first served campground for $20 a night. I stayed there 5 or 6 nights on this trip just because
That would be neat.
it was just cool. And,
That would be neat.
Site A13 is the one to get.
Okay.
When you drive up to it, it looks like the worst place to be until you actually get out of your car and you sit in your camp spot, and there's 2 trees that frame the tower, and there's nothing in between you and the tower.
Gotcha.
It is a clear shot. It's absolutely gorgeous. But the rest of them, you're looking at other campers and stuff. Yeah.
See any UFOs? No, I'm joking.
Actually, not there. So a couple of I can't explain it's while on the road.
Oh, yeah?
But, yeah. Been through Roswell, saw a lot of I can't explain there.
Well,
Most of those were human, though.
I'm sure when you come to Florida, it's the same thing.
Yeah. Florida man. Yes.
That's funny.
So, when you've gone to a lot of these things, you've seen plenty of other gear, and with you repping so many vendors, do you have a set that you would say that, hey, if my house was burning down, this is the setup that I would grab?
That is a very, very hard question to answer. I have my favorites for certain situations. In the house, the one that I hang in my bedroom is a 12-foot from Autumn Outdoor. I can sleep on my stomach, full Superman on that thing. I love that hammock.
Okay.
But it's a 12-footer. So that narrows down where you can use it. I can use it on the Tensa stand, but I cannot use it on the Cricket, but I can use it on the Hive. So it limits where. For hiking, my go-to is my Banshee from Trailheads. It is a very light hammock, but still a very comfortable hammock. And I like to save a little bit of weight because, my knees are not what they used to be. And so when I'm hiking, I do that. If I am on the bike, oh God, It's a coin toss on which one I'm going to use. It's usually either my juniper, my banshee, and the chameleon is actually getting added to that list. I just got my chameleon day before yesterday.
Okay.
And so I've got a couple of nights in it, and Dutch sent me the one that has the bug net spreader bar on it.
Yep.
Which when I first looked at that, I'm like, no. And then I used it one night, and I'm like, oh yeah, oh yeah. It's like at first you look at it, and it's like, okay, that's kind of gimmicky, and then you use it, and it's like, no, it's fully functional. It does a great job at what it does. The only thing I don't like about it is because, and this is a total me thing, the way I sleep, which is I toss and turn like a toddler. I will swap head and foot in my sleep.
Gotcha.
And in that hammock, it's a little bit uncomfortable whenever you wake up and you had swapped your head and foot in because the bug net's right next to you and you're expecting it to be away from you because it's only got the spreader on one end.
On the one end.
Yeah. But other than that, it's great. I like it. The banyan is good under certain circumstances. When there's a lot of mason jars getting passed around. That is my favorite hammock to get in whenever I am drinking alcohol. I don't know why, but that tippy bridge hammock to me is just a blast when I'm buzzed. And I think part of it might be it's the easiest one to get out of in case my supper decides to come back up. It's one of the easier ones to get out of. You just kind of you just roll out of it.
Just roll out.
Yeah. Never had it happen yet, but yeah, I like that one for when I'm drunk. At home, when I'm watching TV, it's generally on my wooden stand. I have the Ninox. I have one without a bug net on it, and I lay in that one because I can move any which way, and I can lay and watch my TV and still be just as flat. So it depends on what exactly I'm doing, what my favorite hammock is. And there's a couple of not favorites, but there's,
So what I'm hearing is if the house is on fire, I'm
grabbing everything.
He's grabbing everything until he can't anymore.
Yeah, I will leave the computer. Bike's fully insured. It could stay in the bottom of the barn and burn. So I'm grabbing that gear. I mean, last time I tried to count, I stopped at 150 hammocks and 75 sets of quilts.
We all right. Quilts definitely he has me beat. Hammocks, I'm not incriminating myself.
Yeah, and I think I've only got like 10 tarps. I don't know. Okay,
I do have you beat on tarps.
Yeah, I don't have that many tarps.
So, going back to the hang. So you've gone to a lot of different ones. I'm gonna ask you to choose not your favorite hang, but what is your favorite camp meal that you've had at a hang?
My gumbo.
Oh, okay.
No hesitation there.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay. I have yet to eat anything that wasn't amazing at a hang. Mm-hmm. For those of you who are listening to this and have never been to a hang, if you fall into the category that think that we're out here eating Vienna sausages and cans of Beanie Weenies, no, not at all. I eat better at hangs in the woods than I do at my own house. At the house, it's usually microwave goes ding or drive through, please.
Yeah, I usually gain weight at the hangs instead of lose weight.
The peak season, I'll drop during the summer.
Yeah.
And then in the fall, when things swing back up, it's like, well, here
feasting
comes the weight
season.
Again. Yeah, here it comes.
Me and AJ was talking about that the other day, and because of course AJ had his weight loss journey, and I think I found most of what he has lost, and so we was talking about it the other day, and I told him, I was like, well, I've got to start losing weight too. I go, but this is the wrong time of the year. I go, I got Thanksgiving coming up, and then we have Christmas coming up, and then we have HangCon coming up. It's like I'm not gonna lose any weight during those 3 months.
Yeah, because nobody ever goes hungry at one of these things. If they do, it's because they didn't speak to a single person.
Yeah,
because there's always so much food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so much food, like random food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like not like your dinner. It's like you have your established meals, which normally when I'm in a hang, I usually, if I eat breakfast, I don't eat lunch.
Right.
Or if I don't eat, breakfast, maybe I'll get something, a snack for lunch. But I'm usually out talking with people and, checking out different setups or, again, a lot of talking to people.
Well, I mean, just like earlier, like this also, we're just sitting there watching one of the demonstrations, and here comes Jason from Walhalla with a plate full of
Pork roll.
pork roll.
Yeah. Oh,
You know,
God,
so I
love
mean,
that
you don't even
stuff.
have to go looking for the food; it comes to you.
Yeah, there's always something to eat at these things, and you'll have gumbo, maybe a jambalaya, spaghetti,
Yeah.
a chili. You know, just it's a mix, and the desserts that some of these people make in the Dutch ovens, it just amazes me. Oh God, yeah, the bear scat pie,
A cobbler.
bear scat cobbler. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
that's one of my favorites, and Smith. God, what was his first name?
Trip.
No, the guy who he owned Go Hammocks, Gaux, out of Louisiana. I'm drawing a blank on his name. Anyway, he was at the Louisiana Hang all the time, and he made a cobbler that was just to die for. Everybody would, when he would start cooking it, we would get in line when he just started mixing. Okay, we're pausing here for a second because
I can.
AJ's moving. Oh,
yeah.
the sun's in your
Yeah.
eyes.
Sun's in my
Okay,
eye.
all right. I'm like,
edit that real quick.
do I stink? I mean, I know you're downwind, dude, but come on, it ain't that hot out here.
I have to say, like, one of my favorite things that pops into my mind of the hangs that I've gone to, they've both been at HangCon, but not made from like us or some of the HangCon crew. When I very first started going to HangCon, when I was, just a participant, they used to do this smoked Gouda mac and cheese on a smoker. And there was the cheese that they used was stupid tangy, and it was very different than any other mac and cheese that I'd ever had. And so that clicked to my brain. And the very first year we moved HangCon to Doe Lake, or from Doe Lake to Florida Sands, I think there was someone from PSH. I think her name was Sweet Tea. She came and they did a white chicken chili that was flipping amazing.
Yeah.
And I want to say, I know we do a white chicken chili for like one of our meals, but it had nothing. It had nothing on that. It was delicious.
Yeah, the way some of these people cook in the woods, just like I can't do that in a kitchen.
I know.
Yeah, I mean I've got my couple of specialties that I can make, but
Yeah.
Jackie Shaw's one of them. You just like it. I love the Shaws.
Mm-hmm.
I think here later tonight with this today. I mean today's Saturday.
Yeah.
We got the potluck.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna be doing here later.
Yeah.
So don't know what we're gonna be eating, but
Yeah, raffle at 3:30. They moved the raffle up because of the possibility of rain coming in again.
yeah.
So, but anyway,
So when you are going on camping, what is your personal favorite style of camping? If you had a week, said, I'm going to go on a camping trip, are you biking? Are you hiking? Are you car camping?
I prefer either the motorcycle or hiking.
Okay.
Both because you can get places that people don't go in a car.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite things is posting all of the pictures from some of these trips, and my friends going, "Oh, I'd love to go see that. How do you get to it?" It's like, well, you drive to this parking lot and then you hike 50 miles, or you go to the end of this gravel road on your motorcycle and then it turns into dirt and you ride another 75. And most of my friends are like, yeah, that's not happening.
Yeah.
But I like to see the stuff that nobody else is going to see. And honestly, it like that stupid cell phone commercial, where they're driving around. Nope, not yet. You keep going until you have no signal.
Yeah.
That's the spot.
Well, that's like, who was that we interviewed a couple of months ago? That's his tagline is hike till there's no signal.
Yeah, that's the way
he
to
said
do
that's
it.
what he does is he goes out and
It is so peaceful. And when I'm talking hiking, I've never done a through hike and I have no desire to do one. I've done pretty much the entire AT except for the Whites and for Katahdin itself. I don't have any desire to do either one of those.
really, why?
I just don't.
Whites are gorgeous.
The
The whites are gorgeous, and Katahdin is too, because I mean everything else around it is low. It's just like a big old right in the middle.
I spent the first 48 years of my life below sea level.
Okay.
Any altitude I have trouble with.
Okay.
The less greenery I have at high altitude, it's worse.
Really? Okay.
Because there's less oxygen in
Okay.
the thinner air. So I don't really want to do any of the sections that don't have a whole lot of. I mean, if I go more than 5 feet and don't see a tree, it's not cool with me. Okay. I mean, it's another complaint I had about out west. It's like, where's your trees, people? Okay. Everything's brown here. It's supposed to be green. Okay. And not so much wind and dust everywhere. Anyway, other than the wind and the dust, it was an amazing trip. Okay. But having to wake up every morning, you unzip your bug net, you grab your Nalgene bottle, you take a mouthful of water and swish the dirt out of your mouth before you can actually drink. Okay. It's just like, I'm done with this. I got sidetracked. I forgot where we were going with that.
We were just talking about, I had asked you why you had no desire for the whites and stuff like that. And you were
I was starting to say my hikes. I will hike sometimes, go spend a week out there, 75, 100 miles. There's also times I'm planning to do a 50-mile hike over the weekend.
Right.
I'll get 200 yards and that's it.
Yeah.
Just because there's this great view. Okay, I'm good. I'll set my hammock up and just chill there for the weekend. I am not one that needs to go out and get miles under my feet for it to be fun. No. Sometimes the miles are fun. Yeah. Sometimes they're not needed.
Yeah, I enjoy the through hikes just because, I don't know, it's like almost like a challenge to me, but I also like, having a beginning point and an end point. But I do also like that as well. If I don't have the through hike goal in mind, I don't mind just going out and, just hiking. And whenever I, like you, find a place that's nice, setting up there and, spend a couple of days there. And if I decide, what else is there up, a little further, then I might, hike a little bit and try and see something else. But
I enjoy my through hikes as well. The
from
width to width of the trail is
I've hiked the width of the AT thousands of times.
Yeah, he don't do the north south. He does the
east west.
The east
You
west.
do know we have a Facebook for that.
Excellent.
Yes,
it is
the AT.
I was so
Thanks,
close.
Barry.
I was so close this year to getting the Triple Crown. I was one trail off, but I through hike the AT, the Continental Divide Trail.
Yep, and
I couldn't get to the PCT, but I did do the Colorado Trail.
So what we have Nobos, Sobos, and Weebos.
I'm a Weebo.
A Weebo.
A westbound.
Yeah, and now that you say that, actually, I'm a triple crowner. I just realized that.
Excellent.
Yes, I did not realize that. I have walked the entire width of all three of them multiple times.
Okay, guys, anybody out there? I need your help. But
I need
some backup.
I can appreciate Barry's mindset with trails as well, because one thing that my wife complains about my pictures when we go out west is she said, you never take any pictures of us. Like, it's always like
no family
that leaf or that rock or that tree. I'm a very like micro focused or like massive macro focused. Kind of like the mid range I don't really care about. Not that I don't care about my family, but as far as like photos goes, that's where it goes.
Y'all heard it here.
But I can appreciate like going out on a hike and seeing something truly magnificent.
Yeah.
And if I don't stay there long enough, I feel like there's always something more to this. Like I want to explore more of this. And if I feel like I'm walking too far out, then I'm going to miss something about this majestic place. That's why I have a hard time spending so little time in like the Twin Lakes region of Colorado. It's just so pretty.
Much.
And like I want, like there is nothing else there to explore but nature. But the nature out there to explore is absolutely mind blowing.
But you know what's funny though is, I mean, even just going to these camps, getting away from work. I mean, even just here, okay, we're in South Carolina. I can look across the lake here and see I-95, but it's still gorgeous to me.
Yeah.
I'm sitting out here in nature, the sound of the breeze, the birds, you hear a little wave down here, hit the rocks every once in a while. And then even to see the sunrise in the morning here is gorgeous.
Or like last night, a night of rain.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Yeah. Sleeping
I slept good last
night. Sleeping in
night.
the hammock underneath the tarp while it's raining. Now, storming is one thing, but raining is another.
Wednesday night was a different story, especially when you know it's going to rain, but you're stupid enough to be like, it's not going to be that bad. I'm just going to keep my tarp up in porch mode all night. Yeah, no.
Oopsie.
Yeah.
Well, speaking about camping and the weather and maybe some scary situations, out of the nights that you've been out, what is your scariest night in a hammock?
Scariest night in a hammock was actually at Devil's Tower.
Okay.
Zero chance of rain. And yeah, nobody told that to nature. What we would consider in the South a Category 2 hurricane came through. The wind was 75 miles an hour,
Really?
gusting to 120.
Wow.
And I actually was sleeping in the cricket in my hammock, and I was airborne.
Really?
Don't know how long I was in the air. Don't think I moved more than a foot, but it woke me up whenever it hit. And when it hit, things didn't go so well. Those stands are sturdy, but they're not meant to drop a 200-pound person.
No.
Oh my goodness.
Standing on.
Right.
Okay. So
Right.
when it came down, the wind caught underneath the tarp on one end and started to blow me over. And so I wound up bailing into the car. I stripped it as much as I could and threw everything in the car and slept in the car. But that was the only time I've ever been truly scared in a hammock. And I have been in 2 tropical storms in my hammock and 1 tornado. And didn't bat an eyelash at it. I mean, I was in Arkansas one time at a hang with SMR, and I was hanging from pine trees that I couldn't actually put my hands around.
Okay.
And the wind was blowing enough to where I was swaying.
Really?
Because the trees were moving, not because of the
Wow.
wind blowing the hammock. I rolled over and went back to sleep. The next morning we wake up, the other half of the campground was completely destroyed because a tornado came through.
Wow.
Yeah. I've had a bad luck with tornadoes. Anyway, so we were doing a hike in Louisiana, the Wild Azalea Trail. Myself, Faceplant, Trevor was with us because Tapeworm was with us, and Bobby, a guy from Alexandria, Louisiana. I mean, gorgeous day, not a cloud in the sky. We come out at one part of the trail, and there's a parking lot and a privy right there. So well decided let's take us a break that's not leaning against a tree. And so we did. And while we were there, Bobby is a local person, so his phone started going off with weather alerts for tornado warnings. And we're looking around, it's like there's not a cloud in the sky. And Tapeworm, Danny, she got nervous and she wanted to bail. And I've always made this deal with everybody I hike with. If something scares you or make you nervous, there's not going to be any making you feel bad. You say you want to bail, we bail. Because I don't want anybody hiking whenever they're not comfortable.
Right.
So we went to a campground. We went to Indian Springs Campground, and we camped out right next to one of the old, built in the 50s bathhouses that's a cinder block, been through God knows how many storms.
Right.
We figured it's safe there. Woke up the next morning, still a beautiful day. And picked on Danny a little bit about it. We get in the car. It's a 3.5, almost 4-hour ride back to my mom's house from there. And about halfway back, the girl who picked us up on the trail sent us a video that's going around Facebook of the trail where we would have been at the time we would have been there with a 1-mile wide tornado going through.
Wow.
So now I pick on Danny about bailing on it, and I also give her a hug and kiss her on the forehead and say, thanks for saving my life.
Right.
Yeah, so you never know what's going to happen. You just roll with it and keep going. Yeah. I've hiked through some storms before that, oh, God, this is going to be horrible in the last 5 minutes. Right. Tropical storms. I slept in one in my backyard in New Orleans when I still lived in Metairie. I had the only generator on the block, and we lost electricity for a storm coming through. And so I wound up hosting the hurricane party. Everybody was emptying their freezers and refrigerators and cooking everything. And there were just too many people in my house. So I set up in my backyard. And the only time I got wet was when I ran out of rum and had to go back in the house and get more. But slept through that one. And then
priorities.
Here in South Carolina, I slept through the remnants of one and got a phone call from Junebug. Are you still at the lake? Yeah, why? Where are you? In my hammock. Go in a building. There are 3 tornadoes on top of the lake. I'm like, oh, okay, no problem. So I went sit in the bathroom for an hour. Just roll with it and keep on going. Yeah. Mom hates hearing these stories. So
I bet.
We can laugh about them now.
Yeah. Horrible experiences make for fun stories.
Absolutely.
That they do.
Absolutely.
Oh, you were talking about the beauty out west. My buddy Joseph that I rode with for most of the time I was out there. He's retired, and it didn't take much arm bending for me to say, hey, I'll carry the gear on my bike. You just get on your KLR and let's just go ride around for a few months. I don't know how many times the two of us were just riding. We're like, wow, just wow. That's the only thing I can say. Beartooth Pass has a sticker. I don't know if either one of y'all know what Beartooth Pass is. It's one of the best motorcycle roads in the world. It's absolutely gorgeous. They have a sticker that says Beartooth Pass. Oh my God. And that's the entire sticker, because while you're on this road riding around, that's the only thing you're saying is, oh my God.
Because of the views?
It's just absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
First time I did Beartooth Pass was towards the end of June.
Okay.
And there was snow on the ground. Second time I did it, it snowed while I was on the road. The third time, it was absolutely gorgeous weather. And it was a nice warm day in Cody, Wyoming, to where we were sweating while we were on the bikes. And we get up to the top of Beartooth Pass and it's 18 degrees.
Oh, big change.
Yeah.
So I got a question.
Uh-huh.
You was just talking about the the different weathers and stuff like that. What's your favorite season to hammock camp in?
Fall.
Fall?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the only
That's-
right answer, really.
That's the consensus answer. Anyhow.
In the south, the temperatures are decent enough.
Yeah.
And in the north, they're not too cold yet. I don't mind cold weather camping. I've been to Frozen, but it was cold and there was a lot of snow and I was completely lost. South Louisiana boy and all of this white stuff. It's just weird. But I prefer I want it in the 60s during the day, upper 30s, lower 40s at night.
Yeah.
That to me is my perfect temperature
Yep.
range, because you don't have to have the heavy duty quilts. Not that they're heavy, but
right.
you're carrying less and it's still enjoyable. You can sit around the fire and be warm and not have one side of you sweating and the other side is frozen.
Right.
Yeah. So fall to me is the best. Spring, there's too much pollen. I'm constantly wanting to peel my skin off because I'm itching like crazy. But in the fall, it's pretty. Yeah.
And usually, especially when you get to some of the lower temperatures of fall, before, like you said, before they get cold, the insects have gone back to hell where they belong.
Yes.
And that's
yeah.
That's my key. And I love going camping when you really have a reason to have a fire other than just the communal gathering.
Right.
When there is a reason for the fire to garner at least a little bit of warmth.
Yeah.
So with all your travels, is there maybe like a bucket list place or a set of places that you would say, hey, I want to hang there?
That I have not done yet?
Have you not hang?
Oh, that is hard because I've hung in 45 states and 27 countries.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, that's a hard thing to answer. One that was on the bucket list, I actually got to write off while I did the trip out west when we were in Glacier. I didn't realize how close to Canada we were. I had my passport with me, so the plan was Joseph did not have a passport. So we were going to go to the border. I was going to go across, hang a hammock, take a selfie, and come back. 10 minutes. The guy at the border crossing on the Canadian side is like, does he have a Montana license? Like, yeah, he can get into Canada with that. What
Really?
he didn't say is he can not get back into the U.S. with that.
Oh, crap.
Oh, no.
So it was 2 minutes crossing over into Canada, and my 15-minute trip in Canada turned into 6 hours. And then coming back, I got through with no problem because I had my passport, and they were giving Joseph a hard time for letting him back into the country. And then Joseph just started talking. He's retired Army. And so he just started talking military stuff. And obviously the guy on the border was former military also.
Right.
Yeah, he was like, all right, bro, come on.
Wow.
It's like, dude, I've got a Montana license. I live 45 minutes from here,
Wow.
And the whole time I'm thinking, you dudes work 20 feet from each other. Can't y'all get on the same page?
Right.
Oh, wow.
Right.
And why is the country I live in the hardest one to get back into? That just doesn't make sense. So Canada has now been scratched off the bucket list.
And that whole like Banff area, like on the other side, like my in-laws have gone and done the Banff, the Canadian Rockies, and I still attest and will die on this hill. Glacier National Park is hands down the prettiest national park that I have been to, hands down.
Okay.
And I say that because Rocky Mountain National Park used to be the prettiest until I went to Grand Teton, and that was the prettiest. And then we went to Glacier. There's just something inherently awesome about that area because you feel so small. Like the beauty is just so immense and massive. Like even pictures, you do not get the sheer magnitude of the hills and the mountains that you were engulfed in. But the picture, just the sheer pictures and the schema that I have for what the Glacier National Park is, that Banff area looks ungodly,
So
ethereal.
we crossed the border right next to Glacier, and then we went into, and I can't think of the name of it, but it's Canada's half of Glacier National
Right.
Park. It's absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. Now that's the only national park I've been to in Canada, but they're set up different. You still pay to get in, but it's less money than it is here in the States. But there's actually a town inside the national park.
Interesting.
Really?
Yes. And actual people live there town.
Huh.
And there's your normal, a bunch of touristy restaurants and bars, and
Yeah.
you can rent kayaks and all the rest of the stuff for the lakes. But we walked around the town for an hour. We had some food,
neat.
had poutine.
Poutine?
Yeah, however you say it. We had that for the first time. Neither one of us knew what the heck it was, but everybody in the tables around us ordered it, and our waitress recommended it. So we're like, okay, we'll try it. And yeah, it was good.
It's good.
It was
It's
good.
What did you ever
All right,
find out what it was?
So poutine is, and I hope I'm saying this right. My Canadian friends will grill me if I don't. But it is French fries,
Okay.
covered in brown gravy with cheese curds.
Okay.
And it's
Sounds good.
amazing.
Sounds
It's
good.
really good.
It is amazing.
We have something similar in New Orleans. It's just cheese and gravy fries,
Yeah.
but it's French fries with cheddar cheese on it and the debris gravy from cooking a roast beef,
Okay.
the same that they put on the po' boys,
Mhm.
and they just pour it on top of it. It's a heart attack
Gotcha.
on a plate,
Okay.
but it's freaking
Hard attack on
amazing.
plate.
Oh, God.
There is no nutritional value
No,
in
there's
either
none.
dish.
None. It is all about flavor. That's it. Okay, and you can hear your cholesterol levels climbing while you're eating. So.
Nice.
To go back, on my list that I have not hung, I've been to but have not hung at, is the canyon. I have not hung in Grand Canyon yet.
Okay.
At or in it. I have been to it 5 times. I've been in it 3 times, but that was all before I started hammock camping. I have never been back since I started hammock camping.
Okay.
So
So with all the places that you've been, what's your favorite?
Where is it that you would
Where do you want to hang
keep
and
going
die?
back?
anywhere in the woods, actually. My favorite one would probably be when we did Eagle Rock Loop in Arkansas. That was just an amazing hike, beautiful views, and not at all what you would think would be in Arkansas.
Yeah.
I mean, it really does. It
Yeah,
looks
I'm
like you're
really
in
surprised.
Colorado.
Like of all the places you've been, Arkansas?
Yeah, I mean, it was a good group of friends. It was a great hike, and it's like taking the entire AT and shrinking it down into 28 miles.
Okay.
You've got everything all in that 28-mile loop. Another nice thing is you can do the entire hike with one smart water bottle and a screw-on filter.
Really?
You don't go more than a quarter mile without a filterable water source.
Really? Okay.
And we did it in 4 days, and we said if we ever go back again, we're taking 2 weeks because there are so many swimming holes to stop at and just go swimming. It was the least stinky we've ever been on any hike ever because we were constantly in the water.
Sounds like
Arkansas.
a bucket list place.
Yeah, I think I may have added
And you said it was
Arkansas of all
Yeah.
places.
And how long did you say this trail was?
It's 28 miles. There are people that run it in a day.
Yeah.
But
They don't love themselves.
no, they don't. It's the same type of people who run the stairs and steps at Tallulah Gorge.
Oh,
There's
yeah,
something really wrong with them people. Okay.
Yeah, my wife has done the Manitou incline in Colorado Springs, and I'm just like, why? Like you're climbing stairs. Like I couldn't do it anyway because the stairs are really steep, and if I were to look back, that would be the end of my story.
Yeah.
I
No
have
more.
people
No
who
more.
asked if I wanted to do what is it? Angel
Oh,
something.
The staircase.
Yeah, the one that the trail's that wide.
Yeah. Once
And
you get
it's
up so far, then
Barely,
they
it's
have
basically stairs and
they
Yeah,
have
that-
chains. They
Yeah.
have poles with chains, and you're walking on literally a ridge. That's,
yeah.
Yeah. I've
I've
seen pictures
looked
of
at
it.
it and I'm like, no.
I've seen pictures of it, and I know I know some of the pictures I've seen, people have been using like the 360, which make it look even worse.
Yeah.
But no. Not
on my list. I'm too afraid of heights.
No.
And it's not the heights I'm afraid of. It's the sudden stop
Yeah.
at the end of the fall.
Yeah. The
That's
falling
what
is it's that sudden stop.
Well, the older I get, the more my equilibrium gets off.
Exactly.
And everything.
Yeah.
And I mean, whenever I was younger, yeah, sure, maybe. Not now.
You do many more random gravity checks now than when you were younger,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
Yes.
Well, that was the thing. Like when we were at Black Canyon of the Gunnison in Colorado, the way that canyon is and the rock formations that come out there, it will almost give you vertigo because you can't visually identify just how far this rock formation is from that. And if you move slightly, everything about your perspective changes. And it was dizzying looking at that. I just don't do heights.
When we go to some of the motorcycle rallies, we meet people who will be their first rally and stuff like that. And we'll do the same ride twice. And they're like, why? It's like you do it once one way and then you go the other way. And they're like, well, why? It's like, it's a completely different experience.
Completely different, yeah.
Everything looks completely different. The curves are different. It's a new road.
Yeah.
So, and you already know where the bathrooms and the restaurants are.
Right.
So, you know.
There you go.
There's a plus.
So how, with going to motorcycle rallies and all the campouts and other various outings that you've done, how have you seen the hammock industry or the hammock community evolve? Maybe just, I would say probably in the last 5 years.
We're not looked at as freaks anymore when we show up at a campsite as much as we were. The first probably year or two camping in a hammock, I don't know how many times the camp host, because when I was with SMR full-time, I was sometimes the only person in a campground besides the camp host. And I'd be setting my hammock up and the kids would come walking over and say, Mama said we got an extra bed if you need one. It's like, no, I'm fine in my hammock. Are you sure? It's like, yes, I'm. Or you're setting your hammock up and they're like, well, if you put your hammock there, where are you going to put your tent? I'm not. So it's become much more acceptable now because there's more of us out there. The gear has gotten, oh my God, so much more comfortable and lighter. Yeah. Oh, the materials that have come out and the different cuts that guys and girls are making the hammocks in. It's almost to the point now. When I first started, it was just a rectangular 11 feet long hammock, that gathered in, nothing special. Now it's almost cut. I mean, there literally is one that was custom made for me. When Anne-Marie was making prototype after prototype to find one that I could sleep on my stomach in, and basically that hammock is custom made for me. And,
really?
Oh yeah. Dude, when she finally got it, oh my God, she handed it to me. She's like, I think this is you. So I strung it up, got on my back, roll on my side, roll on my other side. I rolled over on my stomach. I put my head on my hands and I didn't even move my head. And I said, zip up and leave. And she's like, is that it? I'm like, oh yeah, this is it.
And that's something, not to aimlessly plug Anne-Marie, but that was something I know me and you had talked about. I have one of her junipers and I have a lot of hammocks. I have a lot of hammocks.
I've laid in a lot. I have to still get myself.
I've laid in a lot of gathered ends, and when I got one from her, I wanted to, support her, and I know she does amazing stitching, and I wanted to have something from her. And when I got my juniper, I told Paul, this hammock is more comfortable in ways that it shouldn't be.
Yeah,
it's more comfortable in ways that other gathered ends are not, and I don't know why.
Yeah.
He's always told me, he goes, I don't know what she does, how she makes her hammocks, but it's not like any other gathered in out there.
No, it is different. And it is one of 7 that I can sleep on my stomach in. Yeah. Gathered ends. So, yeah. And that's the one I've spent the most in, that one and her 12-footer that's hanging in the house.
Yeah, I think a 12-footer is the only one that I can lay on my stomach in, if it's a gathered in.
Yeah, pretty much every 12-footer I've ever been in, I can sleep on my stomach.
Now others, even 11-footer, I can sleep on my side. I'm pretty comfortable, but on my stomach, it's got to be a 12-footer whenever it comes to gathered in.
The only other thing I can sleep on my stomach in is certain bridges. I cannot do it in a banyan.
Okay.
I can sleep on my side in a banyan very, very comfortably. But Townsend hammocks. not a problem on my stomach.
Right.
His bridges are made a little different, and
Yep.
it's just he didn't, but it looks like he made it for someone to sleep on their stomach.
Yeah.
It's not why he did it. It just happens to be that way. But God, I love this hammocks. I can't wait to get one. Anyway,
Yeah,
Bill,
Brit-
hint.
Yeah, I have one of Bill's Big Guy bridges, and they are considerably different than any other bridge on the market.
Yeah.
And
it's
really great guy too.
Oh yeah, he's cool as hell.
Didn't he just come out with a new one where the spreader poles are more towards the end of the hammock instead of? I know there was.
Well, that's how he makes his. His aren't at the very end outside of the loop.
That's what I'm saying. They're more
inside,
towards
yeah.
the inside. If I'm not mistaken, I just heard on a I think I was on YouTube or something, but I heard somewhere where he has one now where the spreader bars are closer towards the end, so they're not right over you when you're sleeping.
Possibly. I know that I've heard something. The Guyver had mentioned something along those lines in his video that he did.
That might be where I heard it.
Yeah,
Probably. Yeah.
He might have even talked about it in the podcast episode that
Possibly.
you and him done.
Possibly. Where
As long as
would
it
you
works.
like to see the hammock industry or hammock community go in the next 5 years?
I would love if we could actually just get more people in hammocks, because it's comfortable as hell. B, if you're hiking, you can technically be lighter in a hammock than you can in a tent, and infinitely more comfortable, which means you can hike more miles. And medical-wise, it's actually better for you.
Mm-hmm.
It's better for your back. Done properly, it's better for your back, and it's also good for your high blood pressure, because it does what a high blood pressure medication does, but it does it naturally without a pill. It
Yep.
drains your edema. Your feet are naturally higher in a hammock, so it drains the edema out of your legs, which is why you pee so much whenever you're in a hammock. So
We done an episode where I had looked up a lot of, because there was a lot of debate on the medical side of sleeping in a hammock, the benefits and everything. So I looked up a lot of them, and AJ and I done an episode on it, and I mean, some of them I knew about, like the better on your spine and stuff like that, circulation and everything. But there was some that I didn't even know about, that it helps with your digestion and a lot of other stuff, anxiety and
somebody with gout,
yeah.
it will help them a lot.
Okay.
Anxiety is the easy one. The anxiety, it's nesting.
Right.
It hugs you.
Right.
And
That
people with
womb-esque feel.
And that helps a lot with anxiety. So sleeping in a hammock helps a lot with that. I've got a buddy of mine, I just converted him over into a hammock about a year ago, and he's about 50-50 in it. And his urologist wanted to know what the heck he did to no longer have symptoms for his gout.
Really?
Yeah. And he's like, I sleep in a hammock now. And he's like, huh? And so the doctor started researching. He goes, okay, so it's draining all of that out of your feet.
Yeah, because
All the
gout is
uric-
always
all
in
the
your
uric
feet. It's the uric acid
Yeah.
settling down in the joint, so sleeping in it makes sense.
Yeah. He's like, okay, cool. So
Makes sense.
he's got a doctor saying you can either take these pills or start sleeping in a hammock. So,
Oh darn!
Can you prescribe me a new hammock?
yeah, that's
You
what we all
get
need.
insurance to pay for.
Oh, I'd love to find that.
I know, right? Well, I mean, if a doctor says it's medically necessary, might have a loophole.
I have a friend who works in the insurance industry, and they had a guy convinced his doctor to write him a prescription saying that he needed to buy a Corvette because climbing in and out of a regular car or his truck was too stressful on his back.
Really?
Yeah, he's like, yeah, that ain't gonna fly, bro.
That ain't gonna fly.
That's just not gonna happen.
I think getting out of a Corvette is more stressful than anything.
He's like, you might be able to squeeze a hot tub in there, but a vet? No, that's not gonna happen, bro.
That's funny.
We'll get you a van with a wheelchair lift. How's that? He was not happy about that.
That's funny.
So, I know we haven't asked some of our random questions here in a while. But you
Normal
of all
random
people,
questions or your
I
randoms?
totally am gonna ask Barry
Okay.
some of these questions. So,
ready, Barry.
if you had a superpower, Cajun, what would it be?
I want to fly.
You'll fly. But that whole you would lose that sudden stop if you could fly.
Exactly.
There you go.
Then I could go more places and not be nervous.
If you had a perfect concert lineup, who is your main act and who is your 2 opening acts?
Oh. Okay, one of the opening acts is Tiffany. Are y'all even old enough to know who that is?
Of course.
You, yes. You?
Yeah, no.
No, okay, yeah.
I think we're alone now.
Yep.
Number one hit.
God, I love that song. I don't know the actual guy's name, but he sings a country song.
That narrows it down. The guy with the face.
Well, no,
the
it will narrow
voice.
down. God is great, beer is good, people are crazy, is the song.
Oh, I know the song.
Yeah, whoever that dude is, just for that one song, we could put him as an opening act too. They each do one song.
I could be wrong. And I'm sure somebody will send a message and tell me that I'm wrong, but I don't listen to a whole lot of country. But Jason Aldean is the name that's popping in my head for some reason. I don't know why.
That might be him. I don't know.
Maybe.
I just know the song.
I know the song.
Yeah.
And who was your headliner?
Cheap Trick.
Cheap Trick. Okay.
Yes. I saw them back in 1983, and then I saw them again in 2007. And the only thing that changed was the age of everybody on the stage or everybody watching. It was the same exact show. I mean, they put just as much enthusiasm into it now as they did back then, and it's.
Now, see, you could have named any band or singer or whatever from the '80s era, and I would know who exactly it was if you had named a song or whatever. But it's country now.
Yeah.
So, and in my final question, what piece of gear item, whether it's a gear that you rep or is it something that you've purchased or given to you, what has had the greatest impact on your camping life?
That would actually have to be my backpack.
Okay.
I went through dozens of backpacks trying to find something that worked. My pack weight is light enough to where I do not need a framed backpack. I'm hovering around 8 pounds.
Okay.
So it's more than light enough for a frameless pack.
Right.
Tried a bunch of them. Hated every single one of them. And went back to a ULA. I have a Catalyst that I won years ago, which is way too big. It's 8 pounds of gear takes up a quarter of that pack.
Right.
And I stumbled across a deal on an ohm. And
Okay.
yeah, the sacrifice of weight for the pack, I can go so much further because I'm so much more comfortable hauling it.
Gotcha.
The ULA packs fit me well.
Okay.
And that's the only thing that would enable me to get out there for the rest of the gear that changed. Oh, I can't. So, okay.
Nice. All right. Well, I've got one more question. That was your last question.
That was my last one.
Okay. So I've got one more question, and then AJ can close this out. But I mean, you're like a guru of hammocks and everything. So what would be your 3 top tips that you would give to like a new person just getting into hammock camping?
Okay. Don't go to a box store and buy a hammock because you're going to be very uncomfortable in it. That's the number 1. Number 2, go to a group hang. Just get on Facebook or on hammock forums or wherever, find a hang near you and say, hey, I have no gear. I would like to try this out. Can somebody hook me up for the weekend? And I guarantee you're going to have a dozen or so people saying, I got enough gear for you. And even if you don't do that, if you just show up, there's going to be people offering gear for you to use because we all have extra gear. It's car camping. There's extra room in the car. I can throw 3 more hammocks in there, so we all do that. And the final is do not try and go cheap on your quilts.
Right.
Buy once, cry
Totally
once.
agree.
100%.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
100%.
And that's going to be the biggest investment in the whole thing is your quilts. But that's what's going to make you comfortable or not, or depending on how cold you go, survive or not. So don't cheap out on that. There are a bunch of reputable cottage vendors out there. Learn
the difference between survival rating and
that's
and
a
comfort
huge
rating
difference.
too.
I tell that there's one vendor I tell that to every now and then because he has it the opposite way. His comfort rating is like 20 or 30 degrees off from everybody else's comfort rating.
Gotcha.
His 20-degree quilt is actually like a -10. So I mean, I've got a set of quilts from him, and it is, according to him, rated a 20-degree top and 0-degree bottom. I've been -20 and still sleeping in t-shirts and a short and sweating. So
I have a guess of who this is. Who is it?
Trailheads, John.
Oh, okay.
And he said, yeah, I never want to hear someone say I was cold.
Yeah.
So he makes sure they're not going to be cold. It just his.
See, my local Libres are like that too. I think.
Oh, and
George is
yeah.
the same way. His are underrated.
I don't have any
underrated.
of George's yet. I do want to get at least one of his quilts, and not necessarily to use it, just because they're so freaking gorgeous.
Oh, they're a work of art.
Yeah, I mean, everybody does a great job, but his, I mean, just
a work of art.
Oh man, it's like I want to just hang that on a wall, you
like
know,
a Picasso quilt.
Yeah, it's like, dude.
Yeah.
Yep. And he also has the best Irish goodbye I've ever met out of anybody in the hammock community.
Yeah.
Irish hello and goodbye. At HangCon, the second year at the new place, I'm talking to somebody and I heard somebody walk up next to me. I turned and it was George. He goes, "Hey, Barry." I'm like, "Hey, man, what's up?" And I go to introduce him to the person next to me. And when I turn back, he's gone. It's like, that was George.
That's funny. So.
All right. Well, that's a wrap for this week's episode of the Hammock Hangers podcast. We hope you have enjoyed hanging out with us. And Barry, thanks again for coming on and chatting with us. If you ever see this guy at a hang, which is more than likely, he goes to a few. One thing that I love about talking with Barry, he does rep a lot of different vendors. But if you ask him a question about gear, he's going to give you an honest answer, and it's not he's not just one big sales pitch. He will give you an honest answer for any piece of gear, whether he reps it or not. So for that, Barry, I thank you for everything that you do for the hammock industry, gearing out and repping all these wonderful companies that may not be able to get their gear out as much as they would like, but you make that dream happen for them. So I appreciate everything that you do on that front.
And thank y'all for having me here. This is always fun.
Before we go, don't forget to hit that like button if you have enjoyed our episode today, and subscribe to our podcast for more episodes that will keep you hanging on the edge of your seat. If you subscribe to us, give us a review on Apple Podcast or whatever podcast agent that you use. It really, really does help us spread the word on our message. Stay connected with us on social media to keep the hammock conversations going. Share your own hammock adventures and stay updated on all things hammock related. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Just search for the Hammock Hangers podcast. Thanks for tuning in, hangers. Until next time, may your hammocks be cozy, your views breathtaking, your relaxation uninterrupted. Happy hanging, everybody.